Susan Bennett is my guest today, and even if you don't recognize that name, you'll definitely recognize the voice. She's done voiceover work for Coca Cola, McDonald's, Home Depot, Visa, and many more. Her voice is heard in the Delta Airlines terminal, and her voice is also the original Siri on Apple's iPhone. She still does voiceover work and recently played the voice of a smart house in the horror movie Margaux. Did I mention that she's also a musician who's toured with Roy Orbison and Burt Bacharach? Tons to talk about coming right up. Okay, well, welcome. This is exciting. I've learned a lot about your story, so I just want to help you tell the story and kind of fill in the blanks maybe a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, so your story kind of starts at Brown University when you started out as a musician in this band. What was it called? Conglomerate? Is that it?
Conglomerate, yeah.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Oh, well, it was a kind of a jazz fusion band, and it was the very first band that I was ever in. The first time I ever got paid to be a musician, so that was kind of cool.
That's exciting. So then how does that lead to Roy Orbison and Burt Bacharach singing backup vocals for them?
It doesn't really, because there were a lot of changes and moves and things before the Burt Bacharach thing came about. I was married to a man that I met at Brown, Kurt Bennett, and he was an NHL hockey player for many years. And we were married. We moved to Atlanta because he was traded from the New York Rangers to the Atlanta Flames. And so, both of us were New Englanders, and we thought, moving to the South, we weren't sure about that. But we both fell in love with the city, moved to Atlanta. And I started going out to different studios and saying, look, I'm a singer. And so I started doing, a lot of singing backup vocals and commercials and things like that, which ultimately led to doing voiceover work as well.
Wait,
And
so you just showed up at these studios? Like, because this is before the internet and everything. So you just, knock on the door and say, hi, I'm a singer. Can I sing for you?
Yeah. Well, I had a little demo of things that I'd done. And so that's how it happened.
Was it a lot of rejection at that point?
Not really.
Maybe not that many singers in Atlanta, so they're happy to have someone.
Atlanta isn't a backwater. It was much smaller then, but no, I mean the demo kind of spoke for itself, and they called me in, and then they liked what I did, so they kept calling me.
Yeah. So then you're doing the jingles, right? And then somebody is sick or something doesn't show up, so then you get to jump in and do the voiceover work, which is different because now you're speaking instead of singing.
Right. Yes, yeah. Exactly. After I had sung with a group of people for some jingle, for some product that I can't remember, and I really wish I did because it was a significant thing. The voice actor didn't show up to read the copy for the spot. So the owner of the studio at the time said, Susan, you don't have an accent. Come over here and read this copy. So I went, oh, I can do this. Ding, ding, ding. And that was the beginning of it. I got a voice coach and then learned to put together a demo and gave it to different agents. And that's how it all started.
And then were you still doing the jingles too, or you just moved strictly to, okay.
Yeah.
So what's more fun and which one's more lucrative?
Well, if you're singing for commercials, a lot of it is the only time it's lucrative is if it's a big national commercial, and then you'll get paid and you keep getting residuals thanks to SAG-AFTRA. And so it has nothing to do with whether you're singing or speaking. I mean, unless you're the big deal, unless you're the star, and then of course your agent will get you better money.
Yeah. So, but you didn't write any of the jingles. Somebody else writes it and just gives you a copy. Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
Gotcha. So you did that for, I mean, it was like almost 40 years before you got the Siri thing.
Well, yeah, I guess it was that long. I started doing a lot of different types of voiceover work. And one of the things I started doing and still do is work for this company in Atlanta that provides messaging. So thanks for calling so-and-so, please press 1. And so I did a lot of that and a lot of sort of, kind of announcery type voices. And for this particular company, I started doing some very strange recordings in 2005. And I've talked to other original Siri voices that had the same experience. We got these new new scripts that were very unusual because they'd been created just to get all of the sound combinations in the language. And in order to get that, juxtaposing all the different, vowels and consonants and different combinations, they had to create these sentences that really basically made no sense. And so, and we had to speak everything in exactly the same tone and pacing, pitch, and everything. So it was a bit tedious because
that's because didn't you say it was like 4 hours a day? 4 hours of just reading these almost nonsensical statements repeated.
I took some big breaks.
Okay.
Yeah, it was 4 hours a day, 5 days a week for the month of July in 2005. And then I did some updates as well. And, Siri was the first one of her kind. And so none of us knew what we were doing these recordings for. And ultimately, what we were doing was giving our voices away because this big company, Nuance, ended up with our voices. And so when anybody wanted our voice, they wouldn't come to us because they didn't know who we were. Mm-hmm. They would just go through Nuance and buy our voice through Nuance. And that's how I became the original voice of Siri.
Right. And you didn't get like a royalty. So how does that work? Is that something that you signed to the contract? Has that changed at all? Because they use your voice on millions of devices and you didn't see a check from that.
Right. I'm not sure if they've changed that or not. I'm sure that a lot of finally agents were getting involved. As I said, this was a first, and it was something that no one had dealt with before. And so consequently, we were sort of guinea pigs. The first voices of Siri were kind of guinea pigs. The plus side of it, even though we didn't get paid for usage, we got paid for our recordings, of course. But for me, it opened up a whole new career for me. I started doing speaker events.
Sure.
And I thought, well, I can do that. And my agent, got me paid very well for those things. And so I would show up at different people's conferences and tell them the story of Siri and tell them all about voice acting and what that involved and do different voices for people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. You do some other voices. You do like a New York
that's the
lady.
Frustrating thing about Siri. I knew that I would be typecast. Yeah. And so that's all anybody thinks I can do. Because, humans, I don't know what it is about us. We want to put everybody in a little box,
Yeah, no, that's why I like doing the podcast. It's a little bit longer than like a 5-minute news interview or so. So yeah, show off your other voices. So there's that. Was that Star? Was that the kid voice?
There's kind of a kid voice.
Yeah. Okay.
And of course, I have the lower, sexy voice.
Oh, I haven't heard that one.
Yeah. Don't get much call for that one. I can basically, and I'm good. I have a good ear because I'm a musician, so I can imitate different sounds. And so people say, well, wait, what I said, want you to sound like this. I say, okay, play it for me. And then I can pretty much imitate it. So, really? Yeah.
Oh, that's good. So do the New York one, because that one was kind of cool too.
Oh, Shaka Cohen.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love Shaka. She's my favorite one. Unfortunately, most people in the rest of the country don't really appreciate that Brooklyn accent.
What about it? Can you do a Southern accent since you spent so much time in Atlanta? They don't really have a Southern accent there.
Yeah, they do. They do, but there are a lot of Yankee imports here, so it's kind of a mixed bag. And the Southern accent, there's not just one. There's it depends on where you live. And, sometimes it's very subtle. It's like, well, welcome to my house. I'm happy to see you. Something is very, very, and then other times it's like that. I went down to the store and it was terrible. It was a big, long line,
That's so fun. Do you get to do those voices a lot or no?
I used to, but now that since I've been the voice of Siri, that's, people just have in their mind, oh yeah, she's Siri. That's why it took me 2 years to reveal myself.
Right.
Because I just knew I was going to be typecast. And I thought, well, what are the pluses and minuses? And I thought, you just never know. So I'll go ahead and throw it out there and see what happens. And it turns out that I had some amazing experiences that I never would have had I not been, the voice of Siri. I mean, I did all kinds of, television appearances and interviews with really interesting people. So, it's been cool. I mean, I cannot complain about it. I really can't.
Do you try to get those other voice acting gigs though? Or I mean, how would you, I guess, because do they typically seek you out, or can you kind of like try to apply for those things or try out or?
Well, I audition a lot, but basically it's through my agent in Los Angeles, Vox Inc., and their specialty is voiceover. And they're the ones that really kind of guided me through this whole Siri thing. I didn't really know what to do. And the local agents of the time didn't really know what to do with it either. And so, Wes Stevens and Tom Lawless at Vox really helped me figure out how to make it work for me. And the voiceover business has changed drastically. I started doing it just decades ago. And what you would do then, if you were auditioning, you would go to your agent's office and you would do one or two auditions for the agent. They'd put it down on tape. And but sometimes the client would be there. Sometimes you could meet the client. It was much more of a human human interaction thing, and so and I was exclusive with Atlanta Models and Talent for a long time. And so they would push me. Back in the day, before you had to listen to 900 people auditioning for one little tiny spot, back in the day, they would come to your agent and say, this is what we're looking for. Who you got? And the agent would give them 15 or 20 people. And then you had a reasonable chance of winning that audition. Now you're auditioning against hundreds, even thousands of people. And all of that was because of technology. Technology made it so that anyone who could speak could become a voice talent, because all you needed was a smartphone, some sort of mixer, a good microphone, and a closet. So
yeah.
And so what happened is that the industry was flooded with amateurs. But and so it's just, for me, when I do different auditions, I understand the numbers that are involved. The chances of winning an audition are so small, unless they have picked you to be a part of a little, just small group of people to audition for a specific thing. But for instance, I have a good friend who is a wonderful voice actor, and he also works with an ad agency. He's the art director for an ad agency. And this was years ago that we talked about this. He said, would you like to know what the competition is? I said, yeah, please tell me. He said, well, I had this little spot, the radio spot that was going to run in Alabama for 4 weeks. It paid $150, non-union, $150. And I said, whoa, that's bad. He said, would you care to guess how many people auditioned for it? And I thought I was being outrageous when I said 100. He said, try 300. So now imagine yourself as the casting director and or the client, and you've got 300 people auditioning for your spot. How are you supposed to? You're not going to listen to all 300. So what are you going to do? You're going to kind of skip around and just at random listen to somebody.
Is that what they do? They don't take
Yes.
the people with the best resumes or anything? Or
Nope. No, because the numbers are too big. They don't have the time to do that. And so, it's pretty amazing. It's very hard. It's very hard to make really good money unless you get a name for yourself and that particular thing. But when I get an audition, and sometimes it'll say, well, we don't know if we want a male or female, and I just go delete. That already gets my chances down to 50%. It cuts my chances by 50%.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
But you're more of a professional. You've been doing it longer, and you have your resumes. So besides just the Siri, I mean, you, like it says on your website, where you got Delta and the GPS and Coca Cola and all these big corporations. That doesn't help you at all. That doesn't help you get an in.
Well, the advertising business has changed so much. They don't really do that. I mean, it seems to be just auditioning, unless they have a particular thing in mind, and then the agent will think of you. But it's the process of getting a job is so different now, and you have to spend a great deal of your time auditioning in order to get some work. So
that's just crazy to think that someone at your level. And I mean, you're still the voice of a Delta Airlines, right? The terminals like that.
I'm one of the voices in the gates worldwide.
Yeah. And that you, at that level, you still have to audition and still struggle and still going up against the competition.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But, I've been doing this for many, many, many years. And so I've kind of gotten away from it a bit and tried to concentrate on other things, like the speaker. And COVID was not very good for my speaker career. But I'm hoping that might open up again if these new, very contagious variants would quit coming out.
Yeah. No, I had a professional speaker on my show, and he was saying that a lot of his speaker friends had to do Uber during COVID because there was just nothing and they had to pay the bills.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Yeah. It really affected a lot of people. It really did. And my husband and I are both musicians too. So our musician work went down to next to nothing.
Oh, you're still doing the music then? Are you like cover band or tribute band or what was it?
No, we have our latest little band is called Canyon Ladies, and we do all of the or a lot of the music from the female singer-songwriters of the 1960s who lived in Laurel Canyon.
Oh,
and so yeah, Joni Mitchell and Linda Ronstadt. She wasn't a writer so much, but Carole King, Emmylou Harris, people like that, and that's really fun. And then my husband also and I just do freelance stuff for different parties and conventions and things like that.
Do you play live with the band, or is it only studio? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah. I play keyboard and key bass.
Yeah. So you never quit the music. You just kept doing it.
No, that's really my heart.
Really? So what are the greatest memories you have as a music? Because I mean, with Roy Orbison, Burt Bacharach, I think you played the Austin City Limits. Was that one of the highlights?
Yeah. I was with Roy's band for about 2 years, and it was fantastic because we went to the British Isles, we went to Australia, we went to Bulgaria, and then all over the United States too. So that was really exciting. But probably the high point for me was just the 2 weeks that I was on a tour with Burt Bacharach. And I hope you're not going, who's he? But
no, okay. What the world?
Yeah, some people
didn't he write that song by the Carpenters? Or
yeah. He's
the first time I heard who his name was in Austin Powers.
Right.
And I was like, who? Yeah. I didn't know
Mike
who that
Myers,
was.
That's right. Yeah. Mike Myers introduced
now I know.
a lot of younger people.
Sure.
Yeah. He's in his 80s now, and I saw something on Facebook that he and Elvis Costello were going to put a new album out. And Burt's in his 80s. So he's still going.
Yeah, I interview a lot of musicians, and they all say the same. I mean, I don't think most of them want to ever retire. Even if 5 people listen to their new album, they don't care. They love making music. It's their passion, and that's
the thing about music. It's a bit different from any other job. It's like being an artist, a painter, or anything like that. It's sometimes it's not even what you want to do. You kind of have to do it. And my feeling personally is that if you have any kind of gift, you've got to use it, regardless of how you do that. So yeah, music, they're going to have to get the hook for us. We're going to keep playing.
So, but anyways, you were saying that the highlight was when you toured with him for 2 weeks.
Yeah, with Burt Bacharach. And we started in Atlanta in this wonderful venue called Chastain Park, which is an outdoor venue. And so Burt was staying in a Holiday Inn near my house and near Chastain Park because it was the closest hotel to the venue. And so, of course, he had the penthouse and everything. So he had brought, I think, 2 singers with him from LA. And then he hired, I think, 3 more in Atlanta. And so I'm not exactly sure how I got the job. I think I got it from a referral. And so we all gathered around the piano in his penthouse, and he's sitting there playing the piano. I'm just looking at it going, oh my God. Oh, if they'd only had iPhones then. But, he looks at me and he looks around and he goes, Susan, what do you think about this part? And I'm kind of going.
Like he knew your name and everything?
He knew my name. I said, what?
Wow.
So that was absolutely really, really fun. And the other female vocalist on the gig, her name is Nita Laka, and she's fabulous. She lives in Florida. She's still working herself. And she and I have the exact same voice. It is hilarious. Someone sent me a I found the recording that we did, one of the songs that we did for Burt, that we were singing in unison, and we're singing together. One of us goes up to the higher part in harmony, and I'm going, I think that's me. Is that me? Our voices are so similar. It's hilarious.
Wow.
Yeah. So we sounded good when we were harmonizing and singing
Yeah.
in unison.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's really fun. That's cool. And that's
Yeah.
cool that you're still doing the music too. I love that.
Yeah.
I love hearing that. Now
Yeah.
with the Siri stuff, you know, it's interesting. Did you go down that rabbit hole of like all the weird Siri stuff, like weird things you can ask Siri, or do people ask you those kinds of questions? Like, have you ever looked at those?
Yeah, you know, I really don't pay too much attention to that. If people go out of their way and, you know, contact me and, you know, want to hear about it seriously, I respond to everybody. And when I first came out of Siri, I think I had like, I don't know, 500 to 1,000, you know, people contact me, and I answer them.
Wow.
But as you know, I really take it seriously, and I don't go into a lot of different social media to see what people are saying about me, because I just don't need to know all that. You know, if you like what I did and you're interested in hearing about it, contact me. And otherwise, you know, we'll go about our lives.
Yeah. Well, so it's funny. I think the way I found you was I was watching this movie and I was like, oh, who's doing that voice? It sounds familiar. And then I looked it up and it was you. And then it's like, and it said that you were the original voice of Siri. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's so cool. So how fun was it doing the movie Margaux, I believe it's called. It's about, it's a horror movie about a smart house.
Yeah.
You kind of figure out what's going to happen, you know, and you're the voice of this house. I mean, you're basically the star of the movie, right?
Yeah. She was bad. She was a bad house.
That must have been really fun.
It was fun. It was really fun. But I got to tell you that I love to work so much that I really love every job that I do. It's especially fun if I get to be something a little unusual instead of just, you know, thanks for calling, please press 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's really fun. And I miss those days when you would do dialogue spots. There used to be a lot of commercials with dialogue. And you would go to the studio and you would just play with other actors. It was really fun. And they don't do that now. Everything's been isolated. I'm sure COVID has made that even worse. But, you know, if you want to have a career in voiceover, you really have to have your own home studio.
Oh, yeah.
So we're all kind of isolated. And basically the person that creates the spot for you now isn't the actors and the producers and the directors and writers so much. It's the engineer. You know,
yeah,
the engineer puts it all together. So
is that how for Margaux, did you recorded that one at home too? You didn't even come in for the studio for a movie?
I recorded it from home.
Oh, that's boring. That sucks. I would think you'd be able to come in and meet the director and
No. But you know, I live in Atlanta and most of that type of work is done in LA. So I'm grateful that they're happy to you know, just connect with me in my booth. So
oh, that's cool. Well, another thing that you do, I think, are you still on Cameo?
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So people can buy their own cameo of you.
Right. And it's not very expensive. It's really cheap.
Especially compared to some of those cameos, they're like thousands of dollars. I'm like, I mean, unless you just have like crazy money, why would you pay thousands of dollars for a cameo? Nobody's that interesting. Come on. Yeah, yours is very reasonably priced. I didn't see a lot of samples on there. How does that work with the samples? Do people only if they give you permission to post it, or?
You know, I'm not really sure because I just, you know, I wait until they say, oh, you've got a request. And then I take care of the request and I just don't think about it again. You know, I have to say that I really, for being a freelancer, I am not a particularly good self-promoter.
That's why I'm trying to help you. Yeah, I try to help people on this. You'd be surprised how many guests I have, and I tell them about something that, you know, promotion. I just had a guy on yesterday, a couple days ago, about his band, and I said, "Yeah, you guys are giving away a free guitar," and he goes, "Oh, we are? I didn't even know."
Yeah.
Because you know, like when you're in a band or whatever, like that's just okay. My job is to play the drums. That's all.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think that is true for a lot of, you know, artistic people. We're not so good at the business end, you know. And so that's why it was so great for me back in, you know, in the 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s. I had agents that did all that for me.
Okay.
And now
Yeah.
even the agents, they're running up against. See, there used to be a much better structure. If you were a professional voice person, you joined the union.
Mm-hmm.
You joined the union, and then when you did something great, you'd get residuals and everything. It was a wonderful thing. But gradually, and with technology and the fact that it's such a fun thing, and so many people are interested in doing it, that everything, along with a lot of other things because of technology, have gotten bottom lined.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get it. I see both sides, because on the one hand, like, I probably would not have a podcast if it wasn't so easy to start one. But at the other hand, it's like, yeah, you're right. There's a lot of people. Anybody can start a podcast. It's got a microphone and a camera. It's super easy. So, but I think, I think eventually people the amateurs, if they're just in it to try to mess with it, they don't stick around very long.
It depends, because sometimes in this business, it isn't always the person with the greatest voice or the greatest talent that gets all the work. It's very often the person that really works at it, the person that can, do some, just interacting with the powers that be, with the business people,
Or it's just the most like dramatic. Like, I know with like social media and stuff, there's a lot of people, a lot of voices, that people that have podcasts and things that you've heard of because they say crazy stuff, and that's why everybody knows about them, and they have the most followers. And so that's another way to get work. Not really the route I want to go, but yeah. So yeah. So with the Cameo, can you give us like a sample of that? Like, if I say like just so for people could see, you could do the Siri voice. Like if I said, "Hey Siri, what's the best podcast?" and you said the Chuck Shute podcast.
Yeah. Well, for a Cameo, what I would say is, "Hi, I'm Susan Bennett, the original voice of Siri." The original voice of Siri.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
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 All right.
And I'm here to wish happy birthday to your dad. Whatever it is.
You would never like swear or anything. Is there rules against that?
No, but I generally wouldn't probably do that. Even though I do a lot of swearing at home.
Yeah, you don't want it. It'd be bad, probably bad for the brand or whatever.
Yeah, bad for the Siri brand. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll let you get going here. I know we said 30 minutes, so I always end with a charity. Is there a specific one that you want to promote? I know you've worked with several. Or
I personally donate to a lot of different ones, and so I'll just go with your St. Jude's Children's Hospital. That's a good one. I've
promoted that several times. So yeah, if people have a few extra bucks after they buy a Cameo, they can donate to St. Jude.
Well, if they don't have a few bucks left over from if they're paying me my fee, they should have a lot left over.
That's true. That's true.
It's a very, very inexpensive Cameo.
A good deal. Well, very fun, and I look forward to following your career, seeing what you do next.
Well, thanks. It was great talking to you.
Yeah, you too. All right, I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye. Susan Bennett, what a nice lady. What a cool career. Make sure to follow her on social media to keep up with her career. You can follow me and the show as well. Your likes, comments, and shares help us both with these interviews so that it gets bumped up in the algorithm and more people see it. I appreciate all your support with my guests and the show. Again, make sure you're subscribed wherever you listen or watch. Thank you so much. Have a great day, and shoot for the moon.